New patch notes incoming from the pre-patch podcast. Make sure to check them out. All right. Whew. Yeah. This is I wanted 30 minutes, baby. That's and I'm gonna
All
get
right,
30.
that's the show.
30.
Thanks,
No,
thanks
it's
for,
not. The
thanks-
fuck it is.
Actually, yeah,
The
I've got more to
fuck
say
it
about
is.
Overwatch 2. Actually, I just want to keep talking about
shit.
Overwatch 2 for a little bit. Is
No,
that okay?
I'll mute you and kick you. You don't have to say anything. All right. So okay. I've been stretching. Like I've been stretching.
Right?
You guys
I'm
see
like,
me moving.
he's like, oh, I'm going. And then he
like
just
I'm
goes
ready.
completely
It's
silent.
because I just want to make sure that I give
And then the
everybody
storm kicks
like
in and his
I'm
internet cuts
getting
out.
my thoughts like together on this. So if you're new to the podcast or whatever else,
I need another drink.
myself
So
go
why?
away. Myself, Enigma, and Bill all have been playing Diablo 4. And for the most part, I would say, we are enjoying it, or we're, I don't know, fans, we like it, whatever. Obviously, yes, I am a fan of the fucking game.
He's a shill. You're not a fan.
Go
You're
ahead,
a
get it out now. You can
shill,
call me a shill, whatever wall you want. Well, you want.
Look at that Diablo 4 wall.
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna get a little tattoo right on my ass. Anyway, so the new season 1 dropped today. I want to ask this. So I know that Enigma, you have played this.
I played it. Yeah,
You played the
I've
season
played
1.
it. I've played up until
you were able to get in?
26. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it, no problem. So
I did
whale
hear
privileges.
they were having queue issues. But I'm pretty sure that was just earlier in the day. It's ironed out.
It's fleshed out,
Obviously, obviously it's Blizzard. They're always gonna have queue issues. Like they can never have a fucking release that doesn't have queue issues. It's
Right.
normal.
Well,
It's
I mean,
natural.
I didn't have any issues, but yes, I think that
Yeah.
people are
when
having
I
issues,
when
yeah.
I logged in this afternoon, I had no issues. I had no
Yeah.
queue. So
I also played preseason when the patch dropped, which a lot of these things came into place. So I was playing my Necro. I did some time on
So did I.
my Barbarian. Good. I'm glad. Bill, have you played any of the new, did you play over the last 2 days?
I have not. No.
All right. I personally think
I do have some interesting. I'm excited to play my Necro specifically. That's about the only thing I'm excited.
Are you gonna
to
make a
play
season
right now.
character?
tamper your excitement a little bit because it's gonna be bad.
Shut up. No, it's not. You're fucking crazy. Okay. I think that all of the fucking reeing that's
temper,
happening,
I'm
all of
sorry.
the people that are going ballistic on this patch, which yes, I understand is basically majority of all of the fucking people that are playing the goddamn game. And maybe that's just because I'm stupid. I don't know, but I'm telling you, I do not I read through
He's
the patch
admitted
notes.
it.
I went through everything, and I'm
admitted it.
telling you
You
right now
said
that
it.
I don't think that
You
this is
said it.
fucking bad. I just think that everybody is overreacting. And let me give you my points, and then you guys can go in and give me your points, and I'll tell you why you're wrong. So the thing about everybody, most people are
I'll tell you why the whale that supports Blizzard no matter what. You're
while
wrong. How
most
dare you.
people are fucking going off is the big idea that they brought down and they nerfed classes. They brought things down from doing unstillion amounts of damage, like the druid, who, yes, the game has only been out a month. Why should you be doing that amount of damage? That's
So wait.
ridiculous. It needs to be curtailed. Hey, wait a minute. I said I was going to explain my reasoning, then you can explain your
know.
reasoning.
I'm aware, but I need to also be able to address some of these situations while you're bringing them up, right?
Try to scroll through.
So-
the phone. Yeah, go ahead.
So let's address that, right? The umptillionth, the people that are doing an umptillionth amount of fucking damage, the billions of amounts of damage, it's literally the top 0.0001% of the player base. The people that are spending hours upon hours upon hours grinding the game, and it's literally their job. That's where they're fucking nerfing you at. Is
What is it
the
that's
top
allowing them?
0.001%. It's just
What
them
is it?
them
Is it just
having
theory
enough time.
crafting and
Yeah,
putting
no, it's
combos together and whatnot.
No, it's literally just them having the amount of time that they have in a day to grind out the best gear, right? Like that's literally it. That's it.
I mean, I understand.
Go ahead. Continue.
Give me any game out there that does not ever cater to the top 1%. Like there's
Just because other games do it doesn't mean
I'm
it's
not saying
good.
it, but what I'm saying is that any live service game in that sense is always
Caters
going
to
to be
the
catered.
whales.
It's not. They're not a whale. They're 1%.
It caters
they're
to the
meter.
wallet.
How's that catering
It
to a
caters to
wallet?
the people that are going to buy and invest money directly into their game, and those people that sink the most time in are most likely to also
How-
pay out money towards the game.
How does Diablo 4 have any aspect of
I don't
like
know.
getting
I
out
wouldn't
money?
say-
There's no
I don't-
money.
I
don't
wouldn't
know,
necessarily
man.
agree there. I wouldn't necessarily agree there when it comes down to the only thing that I would agree there with is like they've made it harder for people to play the game, like not harder, but like they've made it so that you have to spend more time playing the game, and the more time that you play the game, the more invested in the game you are, the easier it is to basically convince those people to pay money
I
for
I also
cosmetics.
say that those hardcore gamers aren't necessarily the ones that are dishing out amounts of money on money. I feel like
You don't have to spend
they're
any.
the
You
more
buy the game and you're done.
dedicated
Like
player base,
if we're
yeah.
talking about Diablo 4, you buy the game and you're done. Like now, if you're
I
talking
wouldn't
about
say
other
they
games,
are the whales.
if you're talking about other games, yes,
They're not the Sims. Yeah.
Bill, I think
Yeah.
that you are correct that other games that have a pay to win mechanic absolutely do
like
cater
Diablo
to that.
Immortal. If it was
Right.
Diablo Immortal,
For
yeah.
sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
It doesn't even need to be a pay to win mechanic. It's just people that are going to pay into cosmetic shops and stuff like that. And your most invested players are also going to be your most likely to pay
I wouldn't say-
for
I don't
alternate
agree
things.
with that.
Proven.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any facts to
Because generally when it comes to like cosmetics, generally the people that are going to be purchasing your cosmetics are going to be actually your casuals that don't
Yeah.
necessarily care about the end game, but they want their character to look nice, right?
That's
Yeah,
what
I mean, I can
was
tell you,
in,
I
yeah.
guarantee that I've spent more money on this game than a majority of the top 1% has.
Well,
sure.
at least you admit it.
I'm
least
not, I
you
mean,
admit-
yeah. I mean, I'm not going to shy away from it. But what I'm saying is that so you brought up the point of like getting the gear and giving a reason to continue on playing the game, right? In the previous meta of what the game was and the way that the game was set up, I was able to get literally best in slot gear for my Necro by the time I was like, I think 62. And I had a piece of gear that I would never fucking change because it had the best, one of the best rolls, one of the best things. The resistances were good on it. Armor was perfect. Like, why? I don't need to change anymore. So for the next 40 levels, it doesn't matter what piece of gear, unless I get an ultra rare, unique, that I'm going to change that out of.
But
like them changing and making the game, making drops harder. I'm just saying making the drops harder.
That's what happened though. Like that the ability or the pieces of equipment that they're getting that are allowing them to make these like billions and billions of damage each are the hardest to get pieces of equipment.
Right. But that's not
as they should be. But
right. And I have no issues with that. But people are complaining.
I'm not disagreeing with that. Yeah.
About the game being now more difficult, the game being brought in balance. It should. I don't have an issue with that. I don't think that the game. There's no reason why the game should be D3. Like in my aspect, like D3 was one of the worst Diablos that have come out aside from Diablo Immortal.
In your opinion,
I just said that. I'm saying that in my opinion. Like I think that D3 was a very arcadey, spammy, like I'm just gonna get super fucking big, super fucking quick, do all these stupid numbers, and there's no fun, there's no challenge, there's no reason for me to continue playing the game. I want something that is gonna feel more MMO, and that's where I think that a big portion of the Diablo fans are fucking losing their shit because they're used to, I want to be able to blow shit up with stupid amounts of numbers, and I want to be able to feel like ultra crazy powerful. And the vision, and I've said this from day one, the vision of this game is not that. The vision of this game is more along the lines of a Diablo 2 or a kind of like a Lost Ark where you have like it's a scaled back experience. This is not for your, I'm going to come in, blow all this shit up and then get out. Like that's just not how the game functions. And all of the vulnerabilities that they nerfed, all of the crits that they brought down, I don't think are a bad thing because as a Necromancer player, guess what? I was forced into pulling things that did vulnerability because if I didn't, I was at a disadvantage. Like I had to have Corpse Tendril somewhere. I needed to make sure I needed to have or if I'm not doing Corpse Tendril, then I got to do Bone Prism, or I have to do like one of the Bone Spear builds because I need to be able to have vulnerability to do damage. By them saying, hey, we're nerfing vulnerability, but we're going to buff all of your other, like if you look at the balances that they did to every single character got an increase in damage. Every single one across the board. There was not one that did not get an increase in damage. So they brought vulnerability down.
everybody got a decrease in damage. Everybody
did,
got at
but
least a
if
30 to
what I-
50% decrease in damage.
if you look at, but what I'm saying, if you look at their balance updates here, and I'm not going to scroll down and try to find it because it's too crazy to go. But go and go to this link and look at it.
You don't even need to look that far into those to see the damage nerfs. Like you really don't. It's like literally right up at the top someplace.
It's not. It's, I mean,
gameplay, where is
it's right down here. I mean, yes. Now I'm going to go scroll and try to find this, but it's right here. So look, you have vulnerability duration increase, damage bonus per stack increase. This is Barbarian, right? I'm not going to run through every single one of them, right? Reduction is now capped at 3 targets, maximum of 9 seconds cooldown reduction. Fury gained increased. Enhanced death blows damage
again,
bonus increased. Like you're getting.
So again, you're looking at classes. You're not looking at the general. You're looking at class based, but you're not looking at the 50 to 30% global reduce in damage everywhere.
Right. What,
so yeah,
I didn't say that. I said the classes are the ones that got
a 15. They got a 15% bonus to damage, but they also got a fucking 30% nerf to their damage.
Right, but to me, and to me, playing it, I don't see an issue where they say, "Hey, we're gonna bring damage down. We're gonna buff each individual class to give them certain things to make them more viable." And we're at the same time, like again, by leaving.
That's the problem. They haven't given the classes anything to make them more viable. They've taken away everything to make them more viable.
One of the classes into the ground too.
Everybody is saying that Sork is so.
Sork is gone. Like Sork's build quality and build amount is gone.
And that's the class I'm playing specifically because of that. Because I disagree. Like I don't think that there's anything that shows on here that makes it so that Sork is not a viable class.
To me, this sounds like they're preparing for season 1 and trying to add like longevity to the game, making
instead of adding more content, they're making it slower to get through the current content.
The only problem with that,
exactly what I was going to say,
right? The only problem with that is that if this is the type of thing that you want to do, this is the type of thing that you do a week, maybe 2 before you release the season. They literally did this a day before they released it into season.
Yeah. And to me, they're really like, if they are going this route of like this way of adding a longevity, to season 1, to the content that they have, like it's really applying for the hardcore players. The casual players, I think that's the majority that are also kind of upset about this too. Like they're not standing.
Well, the hardcore characters the hardcore players are pissed off about it too.
Yeah, I'm sure, because I mean, none of this, like, all the nerfs and everything like that, but still, I mean, I don't know. It just sounds like they're amping up for season 1 and adding longevity to it instead of adding, more meaningful content. Like I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's a cop out.
I'll tell you my experience. Are you done, Sin, or do you want?
I mean, I just feel the other thing I was just going to say was that the other thing that is being touted across everywhere is that like build variety has gone out the window, and I don't understand. I don't understand that sentiment at all because of the fact of the way that they have again done things. Where I'm going to use vulnerability as a great example with the Necro or the classes. Like it doesn't. That now gives me the ability to take those 2 skills off of my skill bar and be able to play a different way. I no longer have to focus so heavily into armor, right? Which armor is still and that's not getting fixed until the end of it, like the end of the season. But I'm not going to have to, I should have to focus in on resistances. Like it's a known thing that armor is fucked in this, and that the only thing that you focus in is armor. Nobody gives a shit about resistances. That doesn't make the game fun or playable. That makes most of the gear fucking useless. If so now saying, hey, that's going to go away. You need to focus in on your resistances. On top of that, to say, hey, I'm going to take vulnerability and not make it important, so I can use my abilities in a different way and now not have to focus into this very one niched out build. That does offer build variety. So like, I don't understand what, like, yeah, if you want to be like the 1% meta, then yeah, you're going to be the 1%, but that exists.
You're wrong in the vulnerability argument. If you would have picked any other stat, you would have been right, maybe, but not vulnerability, because every class has access to a glyph that makes it so that you don't have to stat into vulnerability for your build directly. So every class variation has access to vulnerability without using specifically the skills that induce vulnerability.
Right, but what I'm saying is that because it was such a powerful characteristic that was what you went to. Like you had to go toward that, regardless whether it's the glyph or it's the skill. I still had to stat into vulnerability to make a build viable. Like that, to take that away, that doesn't take away from your build variety. That adds to your build variety. That gives you the ability to play other things and actually be a viable build. Am I wrong?
I don't.
Yeah,
I
think
personally
you
feel you
are.
are for sure, because you're just trading it out for one thing. So instead of going down the route of armor, now you just have to go down the route of any elemental that you're going down. Like you're shoehorned into elemental resistances at that point.
Right, but I can still build. What I'm saying is that you should have to focus on elemental resistances. Like I think the argument of resistance,
But the
don't
argument-
work right either.
Yeah,
right, well, I'm
the
saying like that's still fucked. It's still fucked until the end of the season. Like we know that's not going to happen until season 2, which that's my
Which
big
is
that's
dumb.
that's
Should've
yes,
been a priority.
absolutely.
So why put in the fucking fix if it's still
I don't know.
bugged?
I agree with you that like that kind of stuff is stupid. I will 100% agree that say like they should have focused in on quality of life stuff. Like the fact that we don't have a fucking search bar is ridiculous.
Or
the fact that
or
that-
the
gems
fact that we
taking
still
up inventory.
yeah,
or yeah, that's what I was
absolutely.
about to say. Or the fact that we have gems still taking up inventory. And on top of that, one thing I'll point out, the new fucking malignant bullshit that you have to do also takes up fucking spots in your inventory. So now, not only do you have gems, now not only do you have malignant stuff, now not only do you have your equipment taking up your inventory space and your storage space in your stash, like
100%
Didn't
agree.
they add a gem pouch?
no,
They didn't
that's
add a gem
that's
pouch?
season
no,
season 2.
that's in
I
season
got
2.
pushed back to
Wait,
season 2 as well.
How does that get pushed back? That seems like such a simple.
Well, again, I don't know that. So I will agree with
What?
you that the quality of life stuff like that is absolutely asinine. The fact that I can only I'm limited to the amount of tabs I can fucking buy in my stash is asinine. Like I should be able to, but yeah. So I agree. Quality of life was not focused on at all. Go ahead.
So this is my point of view, right? And this is from me logging on yesterday onto my my necromancer, which my necromancer, granted, I'm not at 67. I believe I was at 62 or 63, if I remember correctly, the last time that I logged on, because I was bored as fuck of the game, honestly. When I logged onto it, my power level on my necromancer was physically, I could feel the fact that I was dying quicker, which as a necromancer, I was already dying pretty fucking quick. Let's be real. And that was with me being a tanky class of a blood class, right? Which that to me is crazy in and of itself, right? I was doing less damage, which is crazy to me because, like you, I had a god roll on my on my staff, right? I was taking more damage. I felt like I was moving slower. That could be wrong. I don't see anything about movement speed or anything like that. I could have just on accident swapped out something before I had left. But physically, yeah, like I shouldn't say physically, but like I did feel like I did worse on my character, that I was easily progressing through the game. And I wouldn't even say easily. I would say that I was comfortably progressing through the game. It was by no means a cakewalk, right? Going from druid to necromancer was a downgrade in most instances, which I do agree with you. Like druid did need a little bit of a nerf, right? Like their build variety was crazy when it came down to druid. Everybody else had like 2 builds, druid had like 6, right? So obviously they needed a nerf, and most of those builds were doing an insane amount of damage and were very survivable. Let me just read off some of these things, right? So or was it? Core stat bonuses on weapons have also been overperforming, so we'll be pulling back those bonuses. Strength, 50% stronger when on weapons, reduced to 25% stronger than on weapons. Dexterity, 50% on weapons, reduced to 25. Intelligence, 50%, reduced to 25. Willpower, reduced to 25, right? That's where when you walk into something and you're like, okay, let's take this out, and all of a sudden you get fucking completely obliterated. That's where that's coming from. Cooldown reduction was removed or lessened by 30%. So you can only have, I think you could have upwards of like 50% cooldown or something like that.
Going against like the Infinimus builds.
It was crazy. Like yeah, it was crazy. So I do agree with that. Cooldown reduction did need to be removed. I feel like they over nerfed it slightly, but that's just my opinion. I didn't personally go with the Infinimus build for the Necromancer because I thought it was a little cheesy. Imbuement skill cooldown reduction was reduced to 30%. Trap skill cooldown reduction was reduced to 30%. I don't feel like any of the community really had an issue with that. Like those those two things were not that big of a deal in my personal opinion. Critical strike damage was reduced by 17%, which is fucking huge for critical strike builds. Lightning was reduced by 17%. Critical strike damage with bone, earth, imbued, and werewolf skills were all reduced globally by 17%. And vulnerability damage, we already talked about this, was reduced by 40%. Holy fuck, that's huge. Like, that is a huge number. Critical strike damage reduced by 50%. Vulnerability damage reduced to 65. Reduced by 50%. Reduced by 65%. Damage to crowd controlled enemies decreased by 30%. Frozen enemies by 20%. I don't want to go through all of these because they're huge. But just take my word for it. Like, a lot of these were reduced by at least 30% across the board. Some of them being in the 50s to 40%, right? That is a huge nerf across the board. And granted, again, like we were talking about before, yes, they did boost people's damage on their actual classes. But to me, boosting it by 50% just to then globally reduce it by 30 to 50%, you've completely counteracted what you did to that class. In my opinion. Right?
No, you're counteracting. What you're counteracting is the gear being super, like, the most important, and going into your build and your
Shouldn't
abilities.
the gear be the
But
most
the-
important
but
thing?
the
Yeah,
in
gear
this
is
game?
still
I'm
the
not-
most important thing.
I mean, yes, gear is still, but it's not like, it also goes down to like your build and like how you build and like the viability of
To
your build.
physically change that, they would have to completely change the reliability on gear in this game. Like, this game is not like Diablo 3, where
know.
you could
I know.
potentially have an entire build just based off of skills. This
Right, it's
game
based off of
requires you to
paradigm, right?
have everything in your gear tree.
I understand, but what I'm saying is that what they were seeing, in my opinion, what they're seeing was that, hey, at a certain point we hit a threshold where, and we're hitting it too quick. We're hitting a threshold too quick where these items are making characters where basically carte blanche. It's just, this is the build you go with. It doesn't matter anymore after that, and because this gear is making it. Like,
We'll just point out though,
So-
it's only the top 1% of characters that they're worrying about though. Like,
right, I mean, I understand
the rest of the community has no fight. There's no issue with
but
this.
it's still it's not like it's not like they're only changing they're moving everything on a sliding scale. So if it affects the top, it affects the middle. If it affects the middle, it affects the bottom. Like, it's not like this everybody that starts or is new, or the casual players have this huge influx, and then all of a sudden they hit a wall because now you're there, and like, okay, well, this is where you're at, and if you don't get to that point, you don't matter. Like, it's still a sliding scale. So it's not like 1% is affected. Everybody's affected at the same rate.
Yeah, but
Well, we're
everybody's
not-
being affected because of 1%.
But either way, it's not like you're being affected solely because the 1% is the only thing that matters. Like, you're being affected because they saw
Kind
it
of how it feels.
across
But
the board.
if the top 1% doesn't matter, then why make the nerfs so huge?
Because
Like, if they didn't feel like the top 1% was enough of a worry, they
Because
would not have nerfed these things
Because
by
the
30
top
to
1%
50%.
is their streamers, their content creators, their people that are going to drive enthusiasm with the game. And if they're running through content and they get bored of the game, they're going to move on to something else. And that's going to drive audiences to move on from something else. They need something to slow things down or give another reason for people to grind out new builds, since their builds that they worked on before are dead.
that's
it's
the point, though, is
wrong
that, like,
way
they've
about going.
literally-
Instead of giving them new options, they just nerfed the options that
Well,
they're
that's-
doing.
That's what I'm trying to point out though, is like, yeah, I can see if they nerfed it to where they made it easier for you to obtain some of these things, but like, this game is not alt friendly anymore. It never really has been very alt friendly, and believe me, I've made enough alts to know it's not alt friendly at all. I had 10 slots filled. You only get 10 slots. I had to delete all 10 of my characters to be able to
you
play.
also made six
seasonal
fucking
today.
you should make six fucking druids.
Regardless, again, it was a terrible decision because they don't really do well with alts. Like, alts are not really a thing, and they don't really give you the ability to respec yourself very easily either. Like, it's very expensive to respec yourself. Obviously, they're adding in this like scroll of amnesia or whatever the fuck it's called, right?
A single one.
That you'll get one time and that I guarantee you will be on the fucking
Just
cash
wait till you
shop.
buy it.
Yeah, I guarantee you that will be on the cash shop. Like you can say it won't be, but I guarantee you it fucking will.
Also, to talk about alt friendliness, them reducing XP across the board for
Yeah.
a lot of the leveling methods and stuff is
Now,
Well, that's just
massive as
blatant
well.
longevity, and that
Now, granted, the one thing that I will say, and I did go back and play it today. I started a seasonal character today. I started a rogue. I don't feel like the changes that they implemented affect a new player coming into the game. Like the seasonal start did not feel rough to me, at least on a rogue. Now, granted, rogues are extremely fucking powerful. They've been extremely powerful since the game released, right? Like they've always been the highest DPS when it comes to like single target DPS, right? So that could be something that's taken into consideration, because like when it came down to like my druid and my necromancer on tier 2, it was a struggle bus to get anywhere in tier 2 for me. Even on the necro, which had the summons and everything like that to kind of bolster my survivability and everything like that, right? The rogue, while being squishy, I go through content extremely easily. I was doing a level 50 what are the red things called? I forget what the what the
Oh
what?
no, you're talking about Trio Whispers.
No, the
Helltide?
The castles or whatever they are.
The Stronghold.
The strongholds, yes. I was doing a stronghold with Crow today. Granted, he was like 26, 27, somewhere around there. I was only like 16, but I felt like I was doing extremely well. I died like twice, but I was still able to do enough damage, and I still had enough survivability on the rogue to be able to do relatively well, right? So obviously the changes that they put into place didn't completely ruin the game like everybody's saying. I will say that yes, I do believe that it was hyperbolic in stating that the entire game is ruined.
Yeah, those Metacritic scores are wild, bro.
Yeah,
They're fucking
for
dumb,
sure.
dude. I'm
They
so
dropped so
but
hard overnight.
I will point out this is a complaint that I've had with this development team with Blizzard since the start, right? They over nerfed fucking Necro into the ground to a point that the Necro was unplayable essentially until they actually boosted the summons at the end of the open beta, right? Like they boosted the summons life by 30%, right? Which made the Necro feel a little bit better, but it was still trash, right? Like it still didn't feel good to me, at least, right? In my opinion. Granted, this is coming from somebody that I'm a very big purist when it comes to Necromancer. Like this Necromancer to me does not feel like a Necromancer. I want the Diablo 2 Necromancer. Why can't you just give me the fucking Diablo 2 Necromancer?
I will say one of the items.
It don't matter if they give you 2; they're gonna nerf it anyways.
That is very
one
true.
of the items that they put into the game for Necromancer specifically is a item that automatically uses corpse abilities, so you can have it set up on your
that's actually
raised skeleton, so that you can, like, as soon as the corpse drops, it'll summon your skeleton to help keep uptime a little bit more.
That's actually kind of huge. I was not aware of that. Is that one of those super rare uniques though?
I don't think so. I'm not 100% sure which item.
I'm curious if that is one of their new uniques and legendary aspects. Because if that is one of their new uniques, those new uniques have a 0.0 like
I know they're uber rares, yeah.
Drop rate, yeah. So you will like the top 0.00000000001% of the player base will be the only people that will ever see those uniques. So, but yeah, to me, I kind of agree with you, Stan, in saying that like yes, I do feel like it was blown out of proportion. But on the other hand, like no, it wasn't. It was 100% warranted. I don't feel like it feels to me like Rob Ferguson and his developer group don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they're just making changes and seeing how the fuck it turns out.
I also don't see what their priorities are.
Yeah. The simplest way to me to fix this would be to have a PTR realm, a public test realm, right? And actually give your player base the ability to play the fucking updates, let you know what they don't like, and then you have more data. That seems like the simplest way to fix it to me.
Did Diablo 3 have that?
I believe so, yes. Diablo 3 did have a PTR realm, yes.
I don't know.
Honestly, almost all action RPGs have a PTR realm.
They do.
Because of this. Because of this.
One thing I want to say, and with it coming into like player comfort completely aside, coming into a new season with a patch like this where everybody is going to come into their characters and feel like the characters that they put time into and feel noticeably weaker. Like you said, it's not as noticeable on the seasonal characters and stuff like that. Is a bad time. This is not. I don't understand the thought process on slowing the game down, making the game harder, making you die more. I understand that the game was
Well,
deemed too easy by a lot of people, and they needed to change aspects. There's other ways
especially
they could have done that without.
especially coming off of a developer talk where they said we want you all to feel overpowered, right? Like that was literally something that they said on one of their fireside chats. They were like, we want you people, we want everybody to feel overpowered with these malignant powers. We want you to go crazy.
But hold on, to be fair, we don't know. We have no clue whatsoever now.
I was just going to get to that. Obviously, we don't have any actual like access to what we're going to get in those malignant power bases, right? But again, coming off of that, being like, we want you guys to feel overpowered, but then nerfing us by 30 to 50% just feels bad. It just feels terrible.
What they said was, we want you to feel powerful with these malignant gems, not we want your character to feel powerful, period. It's, hey, you want to be going after these gems, you want to be doing this and going after this said piece of gear.
But do you not think that until you get those malignant gems, like not everybody is like us and they're not going into the season where we can just instantly go into the seasonal content, right? We've been playing the game. There are people that haven't completed the main storyline, that haven't done the things that they need to do or that they're just barely coming into the game. They're gonna feel bad. Like this is going to be feeling.
I don't think they're gonna notice. I don't think they're gonna know. I don't think they're gonna care.
Ignorance is bliss.
I don't even think it's necessarily ignorant. Like I look at the okay. One of the things that really makes me upset, and I've said this, and it's not even just about this. I've said this for I don't know how many times on this podcast, but it's really frustrating because the world of gaming that we live in, the gamer community that we live in, is they fucking go ape shit if they don't get what they want. They go ape shit if they do get what they want. They go ape shit if they get a little bit of what they want. They go ape shit, period. It doesn't matter what they do, what they change, what they make. They go ape shit. They have review bombed the fuck out of Final Fantasy 16, which is universally seen as a pretty successful game, right? They review bomb the fuck out of this. They've at this point, I don't give a fuck about Metacritic and reviews because they're going to get review bombed. What does it matter? If a game is successful or not, it's still going to get review bombed. Like it's absolutely ridiculous.
Final Fantasy 16's reviews are an 8.2 user score.
Right, I'm saying, but it got review back. True or false? Did it not get review bombed?
It had the first day.
It got review bombed. Right, that's what I'm saying.
It immediately leveled itself out within the next couple.
Right, but that's not the point. The point I'm trying to make is that the internet community will go
review bombing is.
I get it. Review bombing is different than.
I don't consider a review bomb if it doesn't do any lasting damage to the user score, which in Final Fantasy 16's case it didn't.
I don't know. I can't agree with you on that because it's still a review bomb if the score is deliberately being lowered because people don't like something.
Right.
They want to like when it comes down to like reviews and when it comes down to like Metacritic ratings, right? Like you have a very small amount of time to make an impression.
Like
right?
to go and say that this game deserves Ravenfall fucking or Redfall fucking scores is absolutely asinine. Like completely and utterly asinine. To say that the game that is out right now, that has been out for less than, it's not even been 2 months, right? We're not 2 months into this game's fucking launch to expect I should get to have a Redfall release.
Well, honestly, you're kind of making a bad point on that though. Like it's only been out for 2 months and they're already nerfing the fucking game by 30 to 50%. That's a rough look.
They're not nerfing the game. Like they are
factually nerfing every single damage type globally.
Did they not?
How is that not nerfing the game?
Did they not increase every single character? Every single class got a buff.
Yes,
every single class got a substantial.
By 30 to 50% globally as well.
But they also buffed their class by 50%. You know, in some cases.
Dude.
So I'm just saying that like this doom and gloom argument is fucking bullshit. Like the fact that they're saying,
oh my god.
And tell me one game. Go back to PoE and look at when PoE launched. it launched in a terrible state. It wasn't even fixed until a year and a half past its point that PoE was actually a viable game to where it is now. It is anywhere close to today. You go back to something like Diablo 3, Diablo 2, any fucking game, right? And you tell me we're a month in that they're going to have everything nailed down. It's perfect and whatever else. And that that even we were getting a content update within a year or within a month.
I'm going to go off on a limb here. Obviously, I don't have the data in front of me, but I'm going to go off on a pretty big limb here and say I don't think that PoE within their first month or 2 months globally nerfed by 30 to 50% all damage types and all resistances and all armors.
Yeah, sure. I'll agree with that. I doubt that they did those nerfs.
Especially,
that they did a nerf like that.
Especially the
but
night
I also
before a season release.
I also doubt that they had the player base or community that
well,
Diablo 4
regardless
had.
if they had the,
right?
We're not
Well, you're not gonna have the data
player base.
You're not gonna have the data.
We're
points.
arguing your specific version. Your argument right there was show me any game that within the first month did well, right? I argued back that PoE, I'm pretty sure, did not nerf by 30 to 50% within the first 2 months.
I guarantee that they had. Did they nerf across the board? Absolutely not. Did they have the data points in my mind, to be able to probably do it? No, I don't know. I'm not there to
I would have to go and look at that, but I'm pretty positive. I'm pretty sure that they would have gotten the exact same amount of hate for doing that. And the problem and the difference between Diablo 4 and PoE. Granted, PoE's been out longer than Diablo 4, obviously. I will argue that Diablo 4 has been out longer than PoE. Blizzard has been, or Diablo itself has been out longer than PoE. Blizzard itself has been developing action RPGs longer than the PoE staff,
yeah,
right? Between the two, PoE feels like the more enjoyable game for me to play right now.
Go back. I would love for it to go back to whenever time.
I'm not saying back then. I'm saying right now, for me specifically, I would rather play PoE right now because I actually feel like my character is powerful. I feel like I have the same amount of what's called
Did you not go into? In fact, actually, I know Mark. I know it because we were in a conversation. You said you slept on the rogue. You went on the rogue. You played the rogue.
I did sleep on the rogue,
and
yeah.
Right. And your experience on that rogue was that you were having a good time. You were killing shit. You're not gonna come to me and say, "Man, I slept on the rogue," if I was not going out there and obliterating shit.
No, I'm not obliterating shit at all. I'm actually struggling fairly hard with a lot of higher end like elites and shit. Which, granted, 100%, I should struggle like a decent amount with elites. Again, I went and did a 50 plus whatever those things are called, right? I was getting my ass handed to me for the most part. I was going through fucking health pots like crazy. Granted, yes, 100%. It was above my level. I should not have fucking
By how
been
much?
there.
How much was it above your level? You were level like 20, correct?
20. Yeah,
right.
by like 20. Yeah.
So you're 30 levels below where you're supposed to be.
But again, I also had 2 other people that were of the level that they were supposed to be in there. So yes, 100%, I was doing well, but I was by far not doing great.
You shouldn't be doing great at that.
No, 100%. I'm not arguing with you on that, but I didn't feel powerful. I really like, even on my road right now, I don't feel powerful. You should feel powerful. Action RPGs, the entire reason for playing an action RPG is the power feel.
Bro, but what I'm saying is at that level, at that stronghold, at that discrepancy, you should absolutely not feel powerful.
I should be getting my ass handed to me.
And I guarantee that if you were to walk into any dungeon at your level or whatever else, you're going to be able to nuke shit because everybody said.
No, I wasn't.
Well, then there's some bigger issue that you've got with your class because I can tell you right now, as a Sork, which is everybody is telling me is fucking bullshit, I'm going in and having no issue walking through my dungeon and completely just decimating anything that comes in front of me.
What level of a Sork?
Early level.
20.
Yeah.
I'm level 20.
Yeah, you're gonna. Every class is gonna feel that way.
Once you hit that, yes, I do. Again, whenever I go through just a regular fucking dungeon, I am still having difficulties with the last boss. I am still having difficulties with elites. Yeah, 100%. I'm rolling through basic gray mobs. Yes.
You should so
Which I should be.
you're in boss. You should have that. You should have
Yeah.
some level of difficulty to it. It
I'm
should
not
not just
arguing
be
with you.
right.
Yeah.
And your elites should pose a little bit more of a
Yeah.
challenge. To it.
Nobody's arguing with you on that.
Right, but what you said is that you don't feel that you're saying that you contradicted yourself by saying, well, I do feel powerful, but I'm not feeling, but I don't feel as powerful as what I should, and that I don't feel as powerful when I go into a dungeon.
I don't personally feel as powerful as I did on my necromancer when I first started. Which is what everybody has said, that their base level, their base power, they don't feel the same as when they as before season 1.
Okay, so they're blowing through. So the argument then is I'm blowing through the content at a slower pace.
I wasn't blowing through the content at a slower pace or a fast pace on my necromancer before season 1. I was blowing through my content fairly slowly on season 1, in my opinion. And I still felt pretty decent, at least on my druid.
There are other ways of manipulating a game and giving your players a more challenging experience, a more fulfilling experience, because that's the biggest thing is people don't feel fulfilled with what they have committed their time to, whether they've put 50 hours in, whether they've put 500 hours in. There is a drop across the board in players' feelings of like success with what they have invested. The time investment has been, the joy that you get from the time investment has went down all the way across the board. The game has slowed down. That is due,
and the game was already slow.
I was just going to say that's why I stopped playing the game.
Yeah, that's due to BS reasons. It's not due to them making harder content. It's not due to them adding more content. It's not due to them altering the content that was in the game in a reasonable way. It is all in a way of making players feel worse playing the game.
So,
and that is never going to be a good thing.
On top of that, it also feels like they've made these changes to force you to play the game for longer. That's what I've heard.
It's the Pandora's box analogy.
Yeah.
Once the lid's off the box, you can't just seal the shit back up. Once you've given people a power fantasy, you're going to have people backlash at you when you take an aspect of that power fantasy away. Whether it's survivability, whether it's damage, or in this case, whether it's both.
Especially when you do the nerf again. And I know you say that it's not worth even remotely talking about the top 1%, right? Or that's what I'm thinking you're saying, at least. But like when you nerf for the top 1% and the base level of everybody that was never an issue, right? Like they were struggling, they were still going through the game slowly, right? But you nerf because of that top 1%, right? It doesn't feel good.
So
it never feels good. It doesn't feel good it doesn't feel good in League. We've talked about it in League where they do nerfs and buffs based on professional play. The people that are playing like 8 to 14 to 20 hours, a day in some cases. We've talked about it in several different games, right? Like nobody likes to be nerfed because of the top 1% that spend entirely an unhealthy amount of time playing the game.
So
right?
My final statement on all this, and then I'll open it up to you guys. Give your final statement because we're obviously over our time. I want to make sure that everybody gets a final word in this. Is that so? I completely agree with you on a lot of things when you're talking about like quality of life, where Blizzard should have put their focus. Honestly, in my opinion, I don't even think season 1 should have come out yet. I think season 1 should have been down the road. And that we should have gotten quality of life changes, those types of things first and foremost. And I think they could have altered the base game currently to give us that content that they want versus trying to rush out a season 1. What I will say on all of this though is that in my mind, the argument of making the game slower, the argument of bringing everybody down, making the game so that again, we bring everybody down, we buff everybody, not one class didn't get.
The buffs didn't outweigh the universal nerfs. Stop using that argument because everybody still feels worse even after they buffed all the classes. It didn't even out to like take
I never
you
said it was going to
up.
even out. I'm just saying that everybody that one of the main arguments that has been in this game from the very beginning with every single patch is that everybody gets nerfed. They never bring a buff. They don't bring a buff to any fucking class. Period.
Nobody
I'm not
got
talking
buffed,
about
nobody
though.
got buffed,
every
technically.
single class got a buff. Every single
But
class
they
got
all
a buff
feel
to
worse still somehow. Is it a buff
Oh,
if
God.
everybody feels worse to play?
I disagree that
Is
they
it
feel
a
worse
buff
to play.
if everybody feels
I
worse
think
to
that
play?
I think the reason that people feel worse to play is because they go in it and they wanted instant gratification. So in my mind, if I have to work to get my gear,
Is it
if I have
still
to,
a buff if everybody feels worse to play? If you pick up
I don't feel that the game is worse to play. I don't feel the game is worse to play. So for me, yes, it feels fine.
You're one voice in the entire community that's saying that the game feels worse to play.
And I'm giving you my opinion. You feel like
That's
it's
fine.
worse to play. It's fine. It's for you. It's worse to play. I'm sorry. I find enjoyment in the game. I think that the game is still fun.
You enjoy taking more of your time to do the same
because
stuff that
I
you were
don't
doing
want
before.
to. I do not want to be given everything in a fucking instant of an eye to be given my best in slot at level 60 and then be bored with the game because I don't have anything to fucking grind toward. Like, what do I care if I get
Blizzard's
everything
problem
instantly?
to put more content into the game instead of slowing down the game as is with nothing meaningful added on top of it.
With the content that I got, like I like the Malignant gems. I like the Malignant changes. I think it's another way for me to be able to grind. I can do Hell Tides if I want. I can do the Tree of Whispers if I want. I can go do my Capstone dungeons if I want. I can
Which
go
is
do
all
the
stuff you could have done from drop.
You're right, and they gave me another piece.
You gave they gave you
slower
one
because I'm
minor
not
piece.
getting I am not getting all of this gear just shoved down my throat at every second or I get my best in slot at level 50 or 60 and I'm done. Like, yeah, I am okay with working hard to get the content and want to continue to grind out a game. So God forbid that I am one of the people that I don't want instant gratification. I'm not saying you guys are. I'm just saying that I don't have a problem with them
instant gratification.
Well, then what is it about? I'm slowing down.
It's about the characters that have already been played, already been built, feeling worse.
If mark my words that I guarantee you that in a matter of 3 weeks, I'm gonna say less than a fucking month, all of this bullshit that everybody is bitching about, barring that Blizzard doesn't give in, and I hope, and I am one of the few that says I hope they don't. I really hope they kind of give them the middle finger. I hope they give the middle finger to the entire community and say fuck off, right? And that's it. And they go do their thing. I honestly do, because I want to see in 3 weeks time when everybody builds and finds these uber fucking things that they're doing the exact same bullshit and nobody is saying a word. All of the crap that everybody is pissed off about, and in 3 weeks it's all going to be
Blizzard
done.
will nerf those.
Sure, right, okay, fine. They're gonna
So
they're gonna create the game
we're right back to where we were. We're right back to where we were, where everybody's complaining about the fact that Blizzard literally nerfs everything.
The issue is that you're gonna continue on this path like they did with World of Warcraft, where your numbers become so astronomically stupid that the game is no longer fun to play because it's pointless.
It's an action RPG.
That's a development issue more than a.
It's an action RPG. That is what you're supposed to feel powerful in an action RPG. That's the entire reason you play
powerful
an action RPG
in this game. Like I don't.
Again, it's the Pandora's box argument. They've opened the lid. They have left the game. They opened the game in the state that it was in, and now they're trying to seal the lid on the box. You can't do that in a way that's going to make people feel good about what you're doing.
I don't think that no matter what they would have done, people would have felt good. I just don't think that
That's
anybody.
if
they hadn't globally nerfed 30 to 50%, people would have been fine.
So if they hadn't globally nerfed all of that stuff, they would have brought vulnerability and crit. People would have been pissed. People would have fucking lost their shit. If they would have not done a global nerf and they would have buffed a few classes or nerfed a few classes, or let's just say they didn't globally nerf anything and they brought down the druid player down to where they're not doing instantillion amounts of damage, whatever else, the people are still gonna fucking so they don't do a buff and they bring that class down because it's broken or for whatever reason that there is. They bring it down, it's busted, people still they leave it alone, people still like it's a no-win situation. That's the point I'm trying to make, is that it doesn't mean
it's making the content harder without neutering the players.
How do you do it?
Think outside the fucking
how
box
do you do
other
it?
than dropping the number slider.
How do you do it?
PoE seems to be doing pretty well with it.
Because PoE does nothing but wrong. What PoE does is they add additional mechanics into their season that is where the power fantasy comes from. It's not that they innovate the way that you're going to feel powerful. It's just that in that season you go after those gems, you go after those pieces of gear, you go after content.
No,
and
that's completely inaccurate, because I felt just as powerful. I felt fine with with my PoE character without doing any of the seasonal content.
You can feel fine doing all of the stuff now in Diablo 4 without having to go after them.
Not for me personally.
I don't know what to tell you, man. Like
I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know what to tell you. Like
you've pointed out
through dungeons
several times. Like you've pointed out several times. This is just how I feel. My personal opinion is
your personal opinion.
The game is worse than when it released. Which is saying something because it's 2 months into the fucking game. Not even 2 months.
I disagree, and I would argue the point.
On top of that, it's the eve before a fucking season release. You fucking drop to 30 to 50% fucking nerf. That's a great way of getting people back into your season.
Drop to 30% nerf and buffed every class. Just want to make sure if you're going to talk about that, if you're going to say there's a nerf, a 30% global nerf, you also need to include, they also buffed every single class's damage output across the board. Like everybody got a damage buff across the board with their skills. So, and the argument that I would say, Bill, or the thing I would say on that about find a different way. What do you want to find a way to make the game harder? Okay. Do you increase minion health? Like do I increase minion health? Because if I do,
they actually did.
So if I increase, so if I increase minion health, I'm not going to feel as powerful. If I decrease the character power, I don't feel as powerful. Like the question you ask is not there's no answer to it. I can't give you a harder game.
And that's on the Blizzard development team to figure out. That's not on me to figure out.
That's not on anybody to figure out. It's impossible. It's like trying to count to infinity. How do I make a game harder, but yet I can't increase the thing that I'm fighting's health or damage output, and I can't decrease the character. So what am I supposed to do? Like those are the two options that are kind of out there. Am I like?
It's pretty easy. Have a public test realm. Make the fucking changes in the public test realm.
But you still have to make one of those two changes.
Get your community's opinions on the changes that happen in the public test realm, and then push out the changes that your community wants.
You still have to make one of those two changes. That's the point. It's a lose-lose situation.
But at least with the PTR and the public test realm and everything like that, it's what your community wants. Right now, this is not what their community wanted.
But what I'm in a room with their community. 3 out of the 4 members here play the game, and 3
out of the 4 members can't agree. With you.
No, 3 members agree completely. Doesn't even count. He doesn't even play the fucking game.
Three of them. Hey, you're the one that brought up 4. Okay, we'll bring it down to 2. 2 of the community members agree completely. One of them doesn't.
Correct. So if you make the change based on what you guys say, I'm going to get pissed off.
Yeah. So if you make the change that I want,
you
make the changes based off of what you want, which is what they did, the top 1%, I guess.
I'm not the top 1% because the top 1% is still bitching.
When it comes to us two, you are the top 1% because you put more time into the game, right?
I will say, as a casual, of games too, like I'm leaning more towards Bill and Enigma because I am a casual player. I'm not that hardcore player that's going to grind and grind. And
I wouldn't even say that you're a casual player. Like, no offense, but I don't think you're a casual player. If you don't put any time into the game, you're not a player. Like you played the beta.
I'm not saying of Diablo. I'm saying in general. So I'm on their side. I can't speak on Diablo's part. I'm just looking at it from an outsider's view. So like I'm saying as a casual player in general, like he made the analogy of League, like they're doing nerfs and all this stuff because of the top players, the professional players, like
which
I'm not going to be happy.
I'll point out Sin has complained about multiple times
Absolutely.
in the past.
I'm not going to be happy when that top player is causing my Echo to be nerfed because he is putting countless hours of amount of time into the game and
right, but
doing everything, so
if at that point they're what they're doing is they're bringing it down because it's either breaking the game or it's not working or it doesn't do something that they're wanting it to do or it's intended to do or it shouldn't be doing and they nerf it, then that's a valid reason. If they're just like, oh well, I'm doing this because the one player can pull off this kind of combo.
But that's what they're doing.
But that's not. They literally brought it.
They made those nerfs based on the fact that people were putting out trillions of fucking damage. The top 1%, again, the people that put in hundreds of hours a week.
I also
into
would
the
bet
game.
you. I would bet you that the people that are putting in that there are more people putting out trillion points of damage than what you think. It's not just the top 1%. And if it's the truth that the top 1%, that I am the top 1% and I enjoy this nerf.
I didn't say that you were the top 1%. I said you were the top 1%
in this podcast. Right. In this podcast, right? If I am considered the top 1%, right, I'm still in the outlier because almost everybody universally, which again, I've already said, maybe my opinion is not right for everybody. Like maybe I'm stupid,
not
right?
But
like fine, but I'm just saying that everybody is reeling over this, and I think it's fucking bullshit.
Because it's a worthwhile thing to reel over.
I will agree, though. It does seem, and it is an impossible task to try and appease the entire.
You're not going to be able to
audience.
appease everybody. You're never going to be able to appease everybody.
But what
The
it
problem
seems like
is
they're
in
not
this-
even trying to come up with something else. They're not even giving an effort. They're going for the easy cop out, which is pretty much what they're doing right now with season 1. You know, all the nerfs across the board, everything.
It
It's an
all
overstatement.
boils down to the ineptitude behind the Blizzard development team. They should never, if this is what they had to do to quote unquote fix the game, then there were more problems at launch than anybody could have expected. And again, third time I've said it, you can't give people that at launch and then take it all away and expect people to just accept it.
I don't know. I think both are overstatements of it. I think you're right in the fact that there were more
if the
problems.
game was broken to the point that they needed to nerf stats. We'll just go with stats because you get upset whenever we say that all classes got nerfed. All gear stats across the board 30 to 50% to bring the game back in line. That is a problem. That is a fundamental problem that the game launched with, that they're now
Trying
having
to
an oh
fix.
shit moment they're trying to fix it, but it should have never been that way to begin with. They should have recognized that this was going to be an issue. They should have done more testing. They should never have opened Pandora's box.
No shit, but there's no way. Like there's yes, there is umpteen amount of ways to PTR test or whatever else. Once they hit a launch date, they launched.
Guys, we got to wrap this up.
Yeah, we'll discuss this later. Anyway. For the Pre-Patch Podcast, episode 91 is in the books. If you enjoyed this small segment of the show, make sure to stop by every Thursday when we do this at 10:30 p.m. Eastern live on YouTube and Twitch. Or you can catch us on anchor.fm/Pre-Patch Podcast or any of your podcast apps. Thank you.